Hello crafters, this is Flavia and welcome or welcome back. Today we will be creating some fun summer-themed note cards featuring the Spellbinders June 2024 Stitching Die and Embossing folder of the month. Spellbinders offer many different monthly club subscriptions and they never disappoint. We can easily subscribe to Spellbinders clubs on the website and know that if you change your mind or if you need a break from the clubs, you will also be able to easily cancel a subscription no problem. The registration for this club will close on the 27th, which means if you register after that, you will receive the July club, which is yet to be released. If you prefer not signing up for a club subscription, know that the club kits might become available on the 10th of the following month. However, it is not guaranteed and it will depend if there is any remaining inventory, so that is something to consider. Here on my desk are all of the metal plates included in the stitched ice cream die set. With this set, we will be able to create a large ice cream cone that we can stitch on. We also get two sentiment banner options that say "Have a sweet day" and "Have a cool summer." Since we will be doing some stitching, it is very important that we cut these pieces out of heavyweight cardstock just to avoid tearing off the paper as we stitch. But if you have a color of cardstock that you want to use and it is not heavyweight, you can still use it. You just have to make sure that you stack 2 or 3 die cut pieces just to make it feel heavyweight, as I'm doing here. I found this color of cardstock in my scraps drawer and I think it is a great color for an ice cream cone, but since it feels very light, I'm stacking 2 die cut pieces just to be safe. I cut all of the needed pieces out of cardstock scraps from various brands and I will begin by stitching the ice cream cone using a piece of metallic DMC floss. I will separate this metallic piece of floss into 2 strands and I will only use 1/2. I will begin by feeding the needle through one hole and taping the end of the thread in the back with a piece of strong adhesive tape so I don't have to hold it in place as I'm stitching. I'm speeding up the video here just to be mindful of your time, but making sure that you take your time as you do this, especially when stitching with metallic floss, since they can be very tricky and get tangled easily. And now to stitch the ice cream scoop that I cut out of brown cardstock to mimic chocolate flavor ice cream, I will use DMC 6-strand floss in the color very dark beige brown. I pulled out only 2 strands and I will save the rest for a future project. Notice that the stitching die plate not only cuts these tiny holes so we can use to do some stitching, but also leaves marks on the cardstock that we can follow as a guide as we stitch. So the whole process is pretty easy to do and I find it very relaxing. To adhere these pieces together, I will use the Barely Art glue, which is a strong glue and one that I trust will make my projects last a very long time. Since there is a lot going on in the back of these two stitched die cuts, I will use some self-lock tweezers to help me hold these pieces in place as the glue dries. I have many of these self-lock tweezers because they can be very handy and I use them all of the time. Moving on to the card base, here I have a side-folding 5x7 note card, and to cut out a fun-shaped note card, I will use the largest metal plate included in the Spellbinders Scallop Labels and Tag die set. I will tape the metal plate in place over the 5x7 note card so it doesn't shift as I run this through my die cutting machine. The secret here is to slightly offset the metal plate on the folded side of the note card so we end up with two connected pieces that we can use as a card base. Using the third largest plate now, I cut out this orange panel that I would later adhere to the front of my note card. However, before doing so, I will dry emboss it using the Spellbinders June 2024 embossing folder of the month. Usually I mist the paper with water to avoid cracks and tears on the cardstock, but today I will use a golden shimmer spray instead, just so I can add a little bit of sparkle to this panel. I added two panels inside to make this note card feel heavyweight so it stands nicely on display. And at the last minute I decided to add another one in the back as well to hide all of these cut marks, but if that doesn't bother you, you can definitely leave it as it is. Once that is done, we can go ahead and have some fun decorating the note card. And here is a closer look at the completed note cards that I created using the Spellbinders June 2024 club kits. I decided to add some small flowers and leaves that I cut out using old die sets by Spellbinders, as well as some clear drops for some added interest. I had a lot of fun creating these note cards and I hope you felt inspired. If you're interested, I have a list of all products used today in the description box down below. Remember to visit my blog for pictures and more information on these note cards, including a visual supply list. As always, thank you so much for spending this time with me and helping this channel grow. Take care and happy crafting!